We're joined by Dr. John Fleming, a member of the President's Coronavirus Task Force and Deputy Chief of Staff to the President. Dr. Fleming, lots of reports about a certain vaccine and its timeline. What timeline is the White House working with?
Jacob, the vaccine development is going extremely well and very rapidly. We expect to have at least one vaccine by the end of the year. And here's why. The President has put billions and billions of dollars behind a number of vaccine candidates, taking the risk away from the companies so that they can not only develop it and prove that it's safe and effective, but at the same time manufacture it. So we're bringing these to full scale in record time with hundreds of millions of doses, but we're not going to release anything until they're fully tested to be sure they're effective and safe. And what's important about that is that we have 3 of these candidates already in phase 3, which requires at least 30,000 volunteers and perhaps even more, and no corners cut. Also, you have to understand that in vaccine development in this country, we have a number of committees and organizations that are non-political that have to sign off before it can go to the general public, like the Data and Safety Board, the FDA with its career scientists. So it's important to know that there's no way a vaccine will be released and given to the general public until it's proven both safe and effective.
You mentioned all those hoops and approvals the vaccine will have to go through. Some reports say that process could take months. So when you say a vaccine will be ready by the end of the year, do you mean ready and being approved or ready and being distributed?
Jacob, the reason why it's difficult to peg an exact date that it will be ready is this. Among the 30,000 plus volunteers, we have to be sure that we have the right mix of subjects. We have to have a certain number of minorities and so forth. We have to hit certain thresholds to be sure that while it may be safe for some groups of people, it might not be safe for other ages, sexes, ethnicities, and so forth. So it does take time, and that can vary somewhat. Also, it's event driven. So we have to have at least 150 people among the volunteers who actually come down with the infection. Now, obviously, if it's a safe and effective vaccine, those 150 or so are going to be the ones getting the placebo, the one that's not really active vaccine. So those things cannot be fully predicted, but it appears on the current track that we're on today that it's very likely that we will have a safe and effective vaccine ready to go by the end of the year. But you're correct. It is possible, depending on enrollments and the number of events, that we could see the vaccine delayed into next year. But it seems most likely we'll have at least one candidate by the end of the year.
Do you worry about setting these expectations knowing that there's a good possibility it might not be ready by New Year's?
Yeah, Jacob, not at all. Most of the country, in fact, has returned to a near normal state. Hospitalizations are way down. Hospitals have plenty of capacity. They're now treating other diseases, disorders, and providing surgery, even elective surgery. Most of the country is going back to school and back to work. In fact, in Washington here, if you drive through the traffic, it's pretty much back to baseline. What we're finding is that we can live with this disease if we observe some important things. Number one, watch the 3 W's. Wash your hands, wear a mask when appropriate, and watch your distance. Make sure you protect the elderly and those who are vulnerable with comorbid conditions like diabetes, hypertension, obesity, etc. But most people who are healthy, young people, young adults, if they observe those 3 W's and use common sense, they can go back to fairly normal activities. So look, we've returned the economy. As you know, we're in this super V recovery. Unemployment is dropping like a rock. People are going back to work. They're earning money again, and the country is doing well. So whether or not we end this pandemic at the end of this year or even in the second and third quarters, we're going to continue to live as true Americans, as normal as we can while being safe and using common sense.
Some states like North Dakota are seeing record daily positive rate highs and active case counts. What are you telling governors to states where the data doesn't necessarily say that we are turning a corner?
Sure. Jacob, North Dakota has been fortunate in that while most of the country has had substantial, if not significant, outbreaks of this, North Dakota has done quite well during those months that other states peaked. Your peak is only coming now. And even with that, you're in what we call the yellow zone. It's a 5 to 10% positivity rate, and that's too high. But your death rates are 2 per 100,000. You're doing very well there. Nationwide, we've seen the case fatality rates drop precipitously by 85%. And the reason for this is not only are people observing the 3 W's that I said, watch your distance, wear a mask, and wash your hands, but also we have great therapeutics now. Doctors have better techniques in how they treat people with remdesivir, dexamethasone, and convalescent plasma. But even more than that, people are using common sense to avoid situations and also to protect elderly people and those who are vulnerable from this infection. So I foresee that North Dakota soon will see that peak come down and really do fine going forward.
The CDC recently changed how it collects and reports on cases.
Sure.
North Dakota even changed how daily positive rates are calculated. How can you consistently follow the progress of the virus if the calculations of the data keep changing?
Jacob, I don't think that we're changing the way we calculate. I think we're improving and modernizing how we collect and report the data. One of the problems that we've seen is originally people were reporting it through the state and then on to the CDC. Now we're getting direct reports to the CDC. Also, in many cases, people were reporting it, say, 2 or 3 days of the week. So you would see a peak, say, in the middle of the week and then none the rest. And that was creating a little bit of confusion about how smooth that we were seeing these cases develop. So I think we've improved a lot of that. So I wouldn't say that we've changed the methodologies so much as we've just improved the way we collect the data and the way we report it to the American people.
Dr. Fleming, thank you very much for your time.